Hey, Randy Joe here, and this is 1001 Reviews, the series where I plan on reviewing every single album from the 1001 albums to listen to before you die book. And today we are looking at Beyoncé's 2013 self-titled album, Beyoncé. Now, Beyoncé was released in 2013 under the Columbia label with various producers and various art direction, nationality, USA, and a running time of 66 minutes and 35 seconds. Why they needed various art direction for a cover where it's just pink text on black, I'll never know. This is the first and only album, I believe, that is in this book so far. Kind of strange considering her pretty well-established career at this point. But even still, I went into this feeling pretty excited to experience Beyoncé for the first time, as I've never actually listened to her myself, especially straight through an entire album. But what I got here is quite pleasant and quite enjoyable, and something I definitely will go back to, and really gave me an understanding as to why Beyoncé is heralded as such a force in the music industry. A lot of the themes that she tackles on this album, as well as just the overall style in which she presents them, is really enjoyable and infectious, while at the same time being quite introspective and deep, while also not shying away from some more enjoyable and fun tracks to sort of lighten the mood. The opening track, Pretty Hurts, is a great song thematically about loving yourself and loving who you are on the inside, rather than seeing yourself on the surface and judging your physical appearance. It's an uplifting song about self-esteem and self-love, rather than criticizing who you are as a physical embodiment that the media so much wants to push onto you, especially. And a lot of it is sort of poking fun at cosmetic surgery and sort of trying to tear down that wall that people use cosmetic surgery so much to change their appearance, despite the fact it is a part of who they are. And Beyoncé's voice is just super fluid and powerful as she just emotes these incredible lyrics that I really enjoy, such as, for example, "It's the soul that needs the surgery." It's pretty simple and direct of a line, but it is also quite raw and clever in a way. I like this line quite a bit, and I think it just drives the point home of this song. And really, I just love everything about this song. I think it is a great way to kick off this album. The next song, Haunted, is a eerie track for Beyoncé, with the way she sings and performs on this song really adding a lot of depth and dark atmosphere to this already moody track. On top of that, the production choices are also some of the best moments for me on this album personally. For example, the effects on her voice, the claps, the synth effects, the overall power of the first half of this track entitled Ghost is just some of the best moments for me personally on this album. It really adds so much to this moody and just raw atmospheric track. And what makes this so great is that the second half of this track feels very paralleled by the first half. It goes much more simple and piano-based before finally hitting a climactic surge of energy and power in the last minute or so. It's really an amazing and gorgeous song that is super layered and very textured, and really makes for just a really emotive song for Beyoncé. And also taking a slight stylistic detour in this album. The first of many detours that are made stylistically in this album, to be quite honest. For example, another song that stylistically shifts quite dramatically is the fourth song, Blow, which I'm not going to get too much into the lyrics, but just look at the title of this track and you can kind of figure out where the lyrics are going to go. It is a very sexually suggestive and heavy track, but what I especially love about this song is just the overall style that is being put into the scene here. Like, this song just oozes a strong sense of raw style. It's like Beyoncé is singing through this amazing Prince filter, really feeling like a tribute track to the legend. The overall aesthetic is just so pleasing and so artsy and so poppy that it really just feels mind-blowing and fantastic, mixed in with these sexually heavy lyrics. The amount of groove in this track is just absolutely infectious as well. And it is very reminiscent of Janelle Monáe's work, who, in my opinion, is one of the best artists working today as well. The fifth song, No Angel, is one of the weakest songs on the album for me personally, and I think what really comes down to is Beyoncé's performance here just feels as if it is severely lacking or severely shifting in tone from the rest of the album, and not necessarily shifting in tone in a good way, because it feels like her voice is barely escaping or making it out, which is a rare thing for Beyoncé to struggle with. She feels like her voice is barely reaching the extent at which it should be reaching, as if she is combating a cold throughout this recording. The production of this song as well is quite flat and boring, which is rare for this album to really do. And honestly, the snapping that takes place throughout this whole track also kind of just feels irritating to me. I don't enjoy the snap track effect in the background, and it adds very little to an already boring and flat instrumental. So what you have here really is a boring and lacking performance, a flat production, and just instrumentals that don't offer anything to Beyoncé as well. So what results is a pretty forgettable track for me personally. And then there's the seventh song, Jealous, which maybe I'm misinterpreting, but is also a track I don't enjoy simply because of the nature of the track and the themes that are being put forward here. In this track, it's as if she's saying that she's so insecure and so worried about the fact that her husband might be cheating purely of her own fears that in the end she is going to cheat herself. Am I hearing that right, or am I just hearing this wrong? Please correct me if I am, but from what I get from these lyrics, it sounds as if she is so worried that her husband could possibly be cheating that she herself will cheat as a result, which is not something that can really be defended. And it's not exactly a clear song to me personally, and I don't think the message came across very strong, and as a result, you get what feels like a more unhealthy and just obsessive relationship, trying to be put on a defensive limelight. And because of that, the theme really just turned me off from the rest of this track. The song Flawless is one of my favorite tracks on here. It is just a pure, anthemic, powerful, raw, feminist song, and it's just put forward with so much passion and enjoyment that you can't help but just cheer for her in the end. The experience overall is just so grand, with this amazing sample being added in by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I'm probably mispronouncing that. My bad. I don't know how to pronounce that. But this sample that cuts in about halfway through the track really drives the point home of this feminist anthem type song, and it's just really quite a heavy hitter of a track on here. And the themes that are being put forward is, again, pretty fantastic, like many of the themes on this album. There isn't a single moment on this song wasted for Beyoncé to just scream to the audience how she feels and how she stands as a woman in this world. The last two songs, Heaven and Blue, really close out this album in just such a grand and amazing, emotionally introspective way. While the first song, Heaven, is about Beyoncé's miscarriage in 2010 and the loss of this child, you really feel how tangible this message is. It is so just raw and so real to Beyoncé. No feelings could really describe the feeling in her voice or just how personal this track is to Beyoncé, and so I don't completely feel fair judging it or ripping it apart, but even if I were to try, there isn't a lot to take apart here and to deconstruct, because it is quite a flawless track. It is so deep and personal and introspective that you can't help but feel for Beyoncé throughout this whole song. And this feels like such an important track in the Beyoncé canon that is definitely the worthwhile listen. The last song, Blue, is just this really beautiful and personal track as well to Beyoncé about the birth and the raising of her daughter, Blue. And this song really can't compare to a lot of the songs on this album simply because it comes from the perspective of a mother and her love for her daughter. Something that I personally really enjoy in music is hearing this sort of perspective. It's usually just so emotive and so personal, and you can really feel the emotion in a mother's voice when they speak for their child. A good comparison of this track would be, for example, Lauryn Hill's To Zion, another song that I just absolutely adore and love because the emotion of a mother's love is so unique and so real and so authentic that it just comes across so infectious in the songs. And that could definitely be said for the song here, because Beyoncé really lets it be known how she feels about her daughter and how much she has changed and impacted her life. And really for that, this is another perfect song and a great way to close out this fantastic album. So overall, this whole album, even though it is a bit all over the place thematically and does shift up a lot. You can kind of argue that the umbrella theme of this album is feminism. And it's handled in such a great way and really goes into each pocket of this theme. So spreading out this subject matter over the course of these 14 tracks and kind of divulging in each aspect of it really creates for a fantastic and powerful album, especially paired with the power and emotion of Beyoncé's voice and just incredible production almost through the entire thing, with a few tracks for me personally not quite living up to the standard of the rest of this album. I know there is a heavy visual component to every song on this album as well, but I'm not going to get into that because that to me is a bit detached from the album and I am just focusing purely on the music here. But the music really does manage to mostly stand on its own. So with that being said, the soft rating of this album for me personally came to an 8.1 out of 10, but I'll go ahead and harden that rating up to an 8.5 out of 10. And on top of that, I of course give this album a E for essential. This is a fantastic album from Beyoncé and is definitely worth the listen, especially since it is the only one in this book so far. I'm surprised Lemonade isn't in here, but maybe in a future edition it will be. But I digress. Fantastic listen. Give it a listen. You'll definitely enjoy it, and I think Beyoncé is an artist to be given acknowledgement to some extent in this book. Anyways, that pretty much does it for this album. Let's go ahead and see what the next album we are going to listen to is in the 1001 Albums to Listen to Before You Die book. Alright, random number generator 1 to 1001. Generate. 749 is the next album we listen to, which is 749 being Wu-Tang Clan's 1993 album, Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers. Let's do it up, dude. Let's do it. 1 week from now. I'm excited for that one. And obviously, my name is Randy Joe. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe if you want to follow along and listen to every single album from the 1001 Albums to Listen to Before You Die book. And as always, my name is Randy Joe. I just said that, and I will be signing off.